Salvete discepuli. Today's video is the third and final video in chapter 21 in Latin for the New Millennium. And you will learn how to form and use the future active and passive infinitive. Now, we did just go over infinitives because you recently learned how to form and use the perfect active and perfect passive infinitive. But I always like for you to contextualize the new information you are learning within the information you already know, okay? So I'd like to briefly go over the three constructions that use the infinitive. The first is the complementary infinitive. This is the one that you've been doing for a very long time. It's the infinitive that completes the meaning of certain verbs such as debeo, solio, possum, something like that. There's the indirect statement in which you have a head verb setting up indirect statement. The indirect statement itself is an accusative subject with an infinitive verb. And then you also have negative command using the imperative of noli or of nolo. So in the singular noli and the plural nolite, both translating as don't. And whatever you want someone not to do, to don't do, you put in the infinitive, okay? So don't speak would be, or don't talk, which sometimes I would say would be, nolite dicere. Okay. Okay, the two infinitives you have been using for the longest amount of time are the present active infinitive, which is the second principal part, and the present passive infinitive. You form the present passive infinitive one way for the first, second, and fourth conjugations. You remove the final E from the second principal part and replace it with an I. You do it a different way for the third conjugation. You remove the entire ERE from the second principal part and add an I. Okay. The perfect active infinitive is the perfect stem plus esse. The perfect passive is something that you would be very familiar with because it's the perfect passive participle or the fourth principal part, and the infinitive esse. It's two words, just that you would expect from the perfect passive. The future active the future active infinitive uses the future active participle and the infinitive esse, so it's two words. It translates about to do something. And the future passive infinitive. Okay, the future passive infinitive is actually a very rare form, but it does exist. In fact, my AP students and I recently came across a future passive infinitive. So they're rare, but they do exist and you will come across them from time to time. You form the future passive infinitive with the accusative supine, which is the fourth principal part with the ending only, and the word iri, I-R-I. So it's also a two-word construction. Unlike the perfect passive the perfect passive infinitive or the future active infinitive, the ending of the future passive infinitive will not end. That is what the ending is. It will not change, that is what it is. For the perfect passive and the future active infinitives, you have to change the ending of the infinitive to match whatever its subject is, usually in the accusative, because usually being used in indirect statement. I have all the examples of the infinitives for you, so you should write all of these down. For amō, amāre, amāvī, amātum, the present active infinitive is amāre, present passive amāri, perfect active amāvise, perfect passive amātum, amātam, amātos, amātas, amāta, esse, whatever. Future active, amatorum, amatoram, amatoros, amatoras, amatora, esse, about to love, and amātum iri, about to be loved. Now again, notice that you have to change the ending on this future active participle or on this perfect passive participle to match the subject of the infinitive and to be able to form the perfect passive or the future active infinitive. But for the future passive infinitive, it just is amātum iri, the iri. It's just what it is. We have an example for capio, capere, cēpī, captum. Capere, to take, cēpī, to be taken, capere, noticing that perfect active stem there, to have taken, captum, captum, captos, captas, capta, esse, to have been taken, captorum, os, esse, about to take or about to seize, and then captumiri, about to be seized or about to be taken. Okay. And then, of course, our fourth conjugation verb, audio, audīre, audīvī, audītum. Again, your present active, your perfect passive, and your future active and passive infinitives. Okay, now that you know how to form the future active and the future passive infinitive, you need to know how to use them, okay? You will rarely, if ever, in fact, I can't even think of a single example of seeing a future infinitive as a complementary infinitive. What you will see it as is as the verb an indirect statement, okay? It takes place after the action of the main verb. So I have these familiar examples ready to show you. In this first one, now we've talked a little bit about this, about how you have to translate the infinitive and indirect statement relative to the action of the main clause, the verb in the main clause. So if you have a present infinitive, it shows that it happened at the same time. Perfect infinitive shows that the indirect statement happened before the main clause. Or now the future infinitive shows that the indirect statement happened after the main clause. So I have a couple examples here. Dicunt eam cives servatorum esse. This ending agreeing with the subject of the infinitive, which is eam. Or dixerunt eam cives servatorum esse. So essentially the same sentence, but with this first sentence, dicunt being present, and this second sentence, dixerunt being perfect. That does change the translation a little bit. With the present, with his future infinitive, they say that he will save the citizens, as opposed to dixerunt, they said that he would save the citizens. So that's an interesting distinction there. When you have your main verb in the perfect or in the past tense, and you use a future infinitive, an indirect statement, you translate it in English as would do something. Whereas if it's a present main verb with a future infinitive, you translate that, he will do something, okay? I also give you an example of the future passive infinitive here. Basically, again, a riff on the same sentence. But I want to show you specifically that this ending for the first word of the future passive infinitive does not change. So here, eos is actually the subject of servatum ire, but that doesn't change to match the eos like it would if this were the future active infinitive, okay? So, dicunt eos a quibus servatum ire, they say that he will be saved a quibus by the citizens. Or in the past tense, dixerunt eos a quibus servatum ire, they said that he would be saved by the citizens. Again, the only thing you have to remember about the future passive infinitive is that the ending doesn't change to match its subject. It is what it is, okay? All right, take good notes. I hope you have a lovely evening, and I will see you in class. Walete.